So now we would like to open it up for all of you. If anyone has any direct questions for our panelists here, this is a great time for that. There are 2 microphones on the floor. Of course, you are not obliged, but if you do have any questions for them, please take the time to do so. We would also like to let you know that if you do want to share your story, that the Truth and Reconciliation folks are here to gather and collect statements. So this time is more for a question period, but if you do want to share, that there is a time for that, and there will be more time during the gathering to share.
Qayanamik ta kwangila okhan lakaw yu tamane tunga su pivi khatit nera tamana ape khotit sakhat to khan nerone mako nepkhauti atui nawgeluti ape riyaw guma patata kwa nilla qaw yu tunga su titivugo amma nilla guma yokhan nerone abane nammene okaw singne nilla guma yangne pivi khatit tingo sumigatta.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me? My name is Mervyn Dexbuvia. I'm from northern Saskatchewan. And my question is, I guess, to the interlocutor, I guess, we struggled for so many years, maybe close to 100 years, I guess. And it's regarding to the doctrine of discovery. Nobody ever goes back to that because the Queen had made some rules, some policies. And the only way that we could change the system is the king has to make some recommendations. And I'm here today to let the interlocutor that don't forget about the doctrine of discovery because it's a very powerful situation that happened in the past. Thank you.
Do you want to respond to that?
Thank you for that comment, and absolutely, and I know that everyone in this room knows that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission wrote in great detail about the doctrine of discovery and how it had to be repudiated, and we will be writing about that in our final report and the little movement that's been made since the TRC calls to action. But when we think about the burials and we think about the sacredness of the land, this is one of the barriers that we have from the colonial laws and the common law is that doctrine. And when I said in my comments this morning, the importance of Indigenous laws leading the way to protect the burials is one of the things that we need to do is address this doctrine. And I know our leadership from the AFN and ITK and MNC are all fighting to remove that barrier. So thank you for raising it.
Yes.
Bonjour. Tanse. My name is Louis Gardner. I'm from northern Saskatchewan, Isla Cross Residential School. To date, we're still fighting for recognition because we strongly believe that the agenda was the same. And I can relate to the elders that spoke today. Very powerful messages, and because I relate back to my parents who were survivors that stayed in the residential school. They never shared any messages with us. They never shared their story because I think they were respecting the religion side. And now today we all know that religion was a big part of the agenda. And that's why if we were to tell our story, because we do need to tell our story to our young generation, to the world. We went to the UN to share our story, but what keeps blocking us is that doctrine of discovery, to what my colleague previously mentioned. Because government bought into that doctrine of discovery through legislation and policies. And for us to say, is that a big part of reconciliation? I don't even know what that word really means. To me, I'm a survivor in ISTA. I went in there when I was 5 years old. I was a kid. I didn't know what I was getting into, but they said, we're not using your name, we're giving you a number, and you don't speak your language. So everywhere we go, I've been to a few gatherings now, the message is all the same. And we need to really share that story somehow, and how we need to do this. And I think that's the big that's the message we need to talk to government about. This has to be told. That's reconciliation. When kids were taken away from their homes and how they were treated. That has to be told to the young generation, to the world. Because my parents never told me nothing. They actually never hugged me for years and years because, they were taught to not love. So, and they took everything to their grave today. So I'm trying to figure out the stuff, So I think the message is, to even what our elders said is, it's a powerful message, but it has to be told. So how do we strategize to tell our story and bring it to the schools, to our young generation, because of the intergenerational effect that it has in the community? Yeah. So, and our residential school that we're still fighting for recognition, there was a lot of First Nations that went to our school. And we had about 10, 15 communities that did come to our residential school. So it affects all those 15 communities. So it's a big challenge in terms of how we find a healing process and how we tell our story. So thank you very much. Merci. Yeah.
Nakomi. This is also a good point. Sharing your stories. There are many ways of sharing a story. Some people are comfortable sharing a story in front of a lot of people. Some people are able to share a story to one person. Some are not even able to share a story with their own families, but they can share a story with others who are perhaps not connected to the events that happened, the traumatic events. I have a question for you. Who are you comfortable, or how are you comfortable sharing a story, your story? And I'm asking this in case it helps others decide how they want to share their story.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm comfortable when I'm telling my story because it's part of my healing journey and I really want to heal. It'll be a forever lifetime journey that you do your healing. But myself, as a journalist, and I'm not shy to ask questions or talk, so I forgot to acknowledge earlier when I was speaking. To my children and grandchildren, I love you. And I want you to be okay. And don't let anyone take you away from me. I love you, my children. My late son Julian, who's gone. Duluwang Nanwa. To my daughter Kim, who lives in Edmonton. So anyone around Edmonton, Alberta area, go see my daughter and be with her, please. To my grandchildren, Felix, Alexis, and Jade, Nana loves you.
Kuyanami, I'm able to tell my story because I'm one of these people who can talk, okay? There are so many out there who also have their own story, but they just don't talk it. It is there. For many of them, they start telling their story and it stops right here. Okay, so many stories don't come out. It's not because of the venue or the people. It's just, for some, it is, the pain is so deep. Either their own pain or the pain that they know that their siblings have gone through, or their aunts, or their uncles. As I was said, when I got to Chesterfield Inlet, my older sister was not there. I am one of these people who also come and talk during the missing and murdered women and children. My sister was killed by her husband. Both my sister and my brother-in-law went to residential school. We girls had it easier because the pedophiles in that residence went after the boys more. It was the untold story that stops here, that comes out in anger, or that gets swallowed in drink. So there are stories out there, many that will never be told. And it's not because of, well, would you be more comfortable if you talked here? Would you be more comfortable if you talked there? It's just because they can't, no matter what the situation. So those of us who can talk, try to be their voice.
Nakurmik. It's still open if anybody wants to ask any questions, make a comment about what was being talked about.
Since nobody's going to ask a question, I'm going to put a question at you to ask when the next panel comes up. Because we do have Canada on the next panel about the funding. I want to just share with you that one of the very first things I said to the ministers when I started this position was that I realized immediately that survivors and family members want to come together. They want to continue to share. That there are many of those who didn't participate in the Truth and Reconciliation hearings and processes and are now ready on their healing journey to come forward and share their truths. And it's so important that those truths be shared to the country. And we need a commitment from Canada to continue to fund gatherings in communities, in regions, in territories. When my mandate's done, when the current funding that ends, I think in 2025, we'll hear from Canada what the extent of that funding is. But we need to be able to bring survivors together and their family members past June 2024? So let's remember that question to Patrick, sitting over there, who will be on the next panel. I'm giving you warning, Patrick, so thank you.
Yes.
My name is Jennifer, and I just want to thank everyone for all of your stories. And I just wanted to be a voice for my mother, who is in a nursing home at the age of 86. And she was married to my father, and my father was very angry and never spoke of his experience. So we always wondered why he was so angry, and so he carried a lot. And I just wanted to speak for my mother, who was married to him for over 40 years. And she didn't want to leave him because she thought he might kill her. In those days, that was a fear. And so I would just like to just bring it out in the open that the spouses who may not have gone to residential school still suffered the effects that the survivors suffered. Miigwech.
Thank you for sharing. The spouses are affected, the children are affected, the grandchildren are affected, the community are affected. And it's true. And there's, I want to add this because I'm also on a healing journey as even a daughter of a residential school survivor. Many of us have a different way of expressing ourselves. And some of these stories come through from the survivors, and some of them come through the loved ones of the survivors. And sometimes these stories come through song, through art, through television shows, through films, right? There's different ways of expressing ourselves. And I bring this up in case someone is feeling the pressure of sharing their story but not sure how to share their story. Know that there are different ways of sharing your story so that you feel safe.
Becky, Nilea.
Becky, Avani to Genius.
Mamena.
I'm feeling really compelled to speak out. I want everyone here. Like I've been to a few conferences
Can
now.
you come closer to the microphone?
I've been to a few conferences now as health support. I consider myself forgotten. 2008, when the Prime Minister apologized to former residential school students, I didn't accept that apology. Because there are cases in Canada where children were taken that have not been resolved, and mine is one of them. And I'm always so happy that when there are organizations and groups who have resolution and they can move beyond to healing, to processing. But just remember, there are cases of Inuit children whose cases have not been resolved because the federal government took the stand of using statute of limitations on their case. So it remains unresolved. And we have no closure. I have no reason why. And I cannot find out the reason why I was sent away for school at 6 years old to Nova Scotia. And it didn't fall under residential schools. And it's unresolved. So I consider myself unforgotten, and I will not accept the Prime Prime Minister's apology for former students until I feel included, because I didn't feel included. So I just want everyone to remember that there are some people who are still excluded and are not included, like me and 6 others. Kuya Nami.
Nakurmik for sharing. That is a
Kuya
very good question. Why? Why were you sent away? Why was my mother sent away? Why were they sent away? And sometimes when you can understand why and the history, you feel like you can move forward. Everyone wonders why.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Boy, it's low.
You're so tall.
I'm a health support worker, and during the last phase of the day school claim, we did hundreds. We heard hundreds of stories because they couldn't write it down by themselves. They couldn't do it. So we listened and we wrote it down for them. It was a really difficult process. We even got, I got a call one day from this, I knew he was an old man because he sounded like an old man, but he sounded like a cowboy. He said, oh, I heard you're the one to phone to help me. It's like, excuse me? He said, I'm in BC on my ranch and you're going to help me do my claim. So I did. But so many of them, like the person said before, they didn't believe them. They didn't get their funds. Or some of them, because it was just brought up at that time, they couldn't even tell anybody or write it down. They didn't have the courage inside them to tell their story yet, because it was traumatic and it became raw. It's still raw today. So they didn't get a thing. And it hurts them deep inside, even though some of them may not say. You can see it. But some of them are very outspoken and say, who are they to tell me when by this day I have to tell my story? I'm not ready yet. And I didn't have an answer, so I just say I'm sorry. But it's not for me to be sorry to them. It's for the government to do something about it. Because you cannot put a time limit to say by this date, June, whatever, you have to be ready and you have to submit and tell your story by then. Who are they to give them a timeline of when they have to tell their story? That's really disrespectful to me, to them, because they couldn't at the time. Many of them say, okay, I can tell it now, but I tell them, well, if you want, you can come in and tell me. But they want to tell it now to be part of the claim on what they believe they deserve. And I agree that they deserve it. So I think when all of these heads of government and heads of the law say, oh, by this day you have to do this, and by this day you have to do this, and you have no choice. We always should have choices. Gone should be the day of them dictating to us when and where we can heal. I just wanted to bring that out in the open. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of healing, I'd like to reflect on Nathan Obid's speech yesterday on TB sanatoriums. It really hit me hard because my mother is one of those survivors. She is an elder, and it has affected me too. You know, it's really hard. She is quite the amazing parent that has raised us and is a strong advocate for the healthcare system, regardless of what she has been through, and encourages to get healthy too. And a few elders that we have worked with have mentioned that they would like to revisit their sanatoriums someday while they're still here. And my other job is with Sea Change, and it's a nonprofit organization based out of Montreal. We have projects all over the world, and we teamed up with NTI, and we did make a start of a new beginning to start their healing journeys. We did their first revisit to Hamilton Sanatorium this July. So it is a beginning, it is going somewhere. We just need to encourage and push and keep going with all these resources that are needed for their healing journeys to begin. And I really encourage more stories to be heard, because I have just learned that it has passed on to me as intergenerational trauma, because it affects me. And as you can tell, I'm very emotional right now. I'm sorry, but I do encourage these stories to be heard. And you guys are so strong to be able to speak of your history, what was done to you. I got to give you that. Yeah.
Nakumik.
You're gonna feel better.
And there's always a time to say something. You can wait a long time, or you can say it right away, or anywhere in between. If you can approach, just remember everybody when you're speaking in the mic to be close to the mic.
Nailoak pagkamaliwag tagkatagpanin to apere mayak kanuna lalak ningak simang mangata amalukyo kanik pata suna mga apikotikang mga ma tukisiga ila tukisititsigak nerama amatuksagak nerama
Aperik ko nakpi.
Nuna lealak ningak tukak mga tukisi mayunga.
Uvanga Iqaluit tiamit qitang meun me.
Taikko aperjutiga yaga taikko apilgaga yakka Inuit inusilgavige qattartakka amiserlute uqarsimasungung mata ilagayaminigo inulegayungmat valava isimalegayungmat uqarvigayamaqattangimmagugoq imannale uqattartillugi amisuuluaq mata aanniartu akunialo amisualo qattak mata qanutigili pilgaaring mangaapsiutukusiyumablunga ikayukkannerumablugu taikko apilgaarivaktakka makkununga makkugtunu tunikkannerumanginnap kita makkua aanniaqluutialuit ataratsiarilauqtara isumutauluaq ma ilaptinni akkaalaгаluartillugu nunalingmuartitauluaq simagapta nunalingmuartitaugapta amma uvanga anaanaga isimutaugaluaq ma iglupta iluani amma isimuliuqni ayoqluni aulaqtitaubluta ilinniaqvingmut ila aulaqtitaublunga ilinniaqvingmut ilinniaqvingmuartaugama angayoqqaaka tusangilertakka ukihuni pingassunik qaimalaungittut qanu suyaung mangaaqmaa qanuuliuqtitaung mangaaqmaa sunami ilinniaqtitaung mangaaqmaa pitsiartaugaluaq mangaaqmaa kisani angaqaramataima tusariutainnarlutik Akunialo taikko angayoqqaarilaurtakka ataratsiarilauqtaralu ummatikko isimakko aanniaqniqalaut aannialuaqnikumino asuila imialungnut saatiqpallialertut tuksearasuaqoyivakkaluarlutik atuangillunit juglu aanniaqnivukayusiinnaloqma uvamnullu ataratsiamnit anaanamnit uvamnut nutarakkanu engmutakkanut Tama aperjutigineartara ikayoqtiksaqaqniarpitaqai uvagu anaanatsiangulertigumaanna ataatsiangulertigumaanna ilakkali toquqqangmatatamaqnik ikayoqtauyunnakkannerpungaqai ikayoqtaujutiksaldataamiaqai tuniyauyunnarpungaqai suli nunandialaangugaluartillunga tamana apeqqutigiyaqa tukisinnarpunga Ukuninga amma inusilaqayani tamainnik. Yeah. Kiuyuqarunnerpa kiuyauyumarpunga qakuukiaq.
Kinatam na uqaqtu qablunatut uqangniaqama government of Canada, Health Canada offers residential school support system where we get counseling. And I myself often wonder why we cannot go to an Inuit elder to get counseling and healing. I really want that myself, but I've asked for Inuit elders to come and heal and be with me and get counseling, and they said no, they don't have a certificate or a diploma, or they're not a doctor. You have to have a piece of paper if you want to use our services. And our Inuit elders do not carry those papers and certificates and whatever you need to be called a doctor or, you know, be accepted in the government system. I want to be with my elders. I want to get counseling and healing from them. But they said, no, we don't have anybody like that. I said, why not? And they told me, no, you need that paper. You need the certificate or diploma or those fancy papers that universities and whatever. And I don't think that is right. I think our elders are to be recognized and to be eligible to be counselors all across our Nunavut area or all across the Inuit country, circumpolar countries. And I feel that the Canadian government should be recognizing our elders as certified, whatever you call it, to get that paper. And I've often spoke about this because I need counseling, I need healing. I'm becoming an elder and there's still no elder counselors that the government will accept. So I get counseling right now from a non-Inuk, not an elder. Sometimes I sit there and talk with him and I ask him questions he wouldn't know how to answer. You know, like all our parents and grandparents, they watch us fly away and they don't see us for 10 whole months. They're the ones that suffer too. And nobody's doing anything. They suffer alone in silence and they cry in silence. They sit at home waiting for their kids to come home end of June or sometime in July. That is really, really terrible. I think of my grandparents and my parents, how much they miss us kids. So I want to see Inuit elders as counselors and be accepted in that residential school support system.
Nakumik. So there are two people waiting to speak. I'm going to ask you to please try to keep it short so that we can go on a wellness break that we all need right now. Ate.
But speaking on that with Helen, it's there is Ilisar Civic in Clyde River. They recently started counseling. Like those resources are available, but I'm not sure if that's through.
It's too far for me.
Oh, okay, but that is available there. And my mother did get her certification as a counselor. She did the training for 2 years at age 83. So she did get her certification at age 83. So that is starting somewhere, but, and then at age 83, because of that, her being official, they asked for a criminal record check at age 83. So I brought her to the police station, did her criminal record check, and it was quite something else. They're like, why would anyone ask for an 83-year-old for a criminal record check? Well, it's protocol, part of the procedure of getting a job for her at age 83. I just wanted to put that out there.
They refused me to go to Clyde River and wherever there was Inuit elder counselors. They refused me because I live way out west and they said it would be too expensive.
Yes, please.
Thank you to the people of Iqaluit for welcoming us here and hosting us and making us feel so welcome. My name is Miranda Jimmy. I'm a member of Thunderchild First Nation and come to you from the heart of Treaty 6. And I felt compelled to share some words of hope and kinship and relations that to the south. We've heard here today, and many community members know that the situation in the north is unique. And there is a direct relationship with my home community in Edmonton with the Charles Camsell Hospital. And I'm a volunteer, a community member, and I'm compelled to this work because I am also an intergenerational survivor of residential school. My kin my relatives, my ancestors, were given the responsibility of caring for the remains of many people from the north. Your kin, your relatives are buried in Treaty 6 territory. And I am honored to be of service to your community, to your families, to your loved ones in that search for recognition of your graves, understanding what happened to your loved ones, and recognition that it's not only the remains that were responsible for in Treaty 6, but it's also much of the records and information and truth. And so I want everyone here and everyone listening online to know that you have allyship, you have relationships in the South, and we want to be of service and we want to support you. So thank you for hosting me here, and I honor you and the work that everyone is doing.
Nakomi.
Thank you.
Beatrice, this is our last question for now.
Hi, I'm Beatrice Pitaro, and I'm a survivor, residential school survivor, and that's why I'm a health support, because I know and understand what the residential school survivors and the grandchildren and the children are going through. I understand them fully. For years and years, I was confused. Why I was like this? I felt different. I felt very different. I couldn't blend in with other people. I looked Inuk, but I couldn't really understand Inuktitut, because they told us not to speak Inuktitut in my school when I went there. So today, thanks to my husband, who never went to school, I can now converse in Inuktitut, and I'm proud to do that. The thing I really wanted to say was health supports and counselors, elder counselors, traditional cultural counselors should have more support. Even I am a community counselor with my husband. I have to work in my home. There is no office. No office is provided for me. I have to see people in one of the rooms. But thanks to some organizations like Embrace Life Council, they can provide me with a room in one of their rooms, but most of the time it's at my place, in my home. I see people. Because GN, Nunavut of government, or Inuit organizations, they don't really support the mental health workers like us. There's nothing. There are a lot of gatherings, a lot of meetings, all over, and they travel all over, but there's no money for health support workers, nothing. And they don't pay us as much as the people who do come in from south to give support. One time I was working with this organization and I asked to attend a workshop because I was really interested in getting more knowledge to do better work with what I was doing. and I was denied because they told me I don't have to go. That's how much we go through being put down to try and keep us down. They don't give any support at all, wherever. We don't get recognized. We survived, though, because of our will. We want to do this. We have the will to help our fellow people. We have the love and the understanding that we need to help others. Nakomi.
Nakomi. Thank you for sharing. That is very important. There are some people who are there to help others, and we have to make sure that they also feel safe.